Native Land Pod is a production of iHeartRadio in partnership with Reason Choice Media.
Welcome, 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 welcome.
Welcome home, y'all. My name is Chris, and I am a 5th grade teacher here in Atlanta. And as you can see, my classroom is it's a problem. America has a problem, featuring Beyonce. And my creative flag that I did with actual, you can't zoom in, but with actual people inside of the stars, and my HBC wall. Nonetheless, my question is it overzealous of me to think or believe that every time, or to believe that once we hit the age of 18, we should be automatically registered to vote, and kind of get rid of this people don't vote because they don't register, and just go ahead and give them the automatic right? Why are we making people register to vote and putting them through the ringer when we know they exist? The government knows you're 18 now. Just give you the automatic right to vote. Is that overzealous? Maybe so, but just give me your opinion.
Thank you so much. Christian, I believe.
Being a teacher.
Yeah.
Yes. We are very, very grateful for your question. You know, we are, I believe, voting rights advocates on this show. I certainly believe in compulsory registration and so many other ways to ensure that people feel compelled to participate. We've been spending a lot of time talking about redistricting on our shows, Tiff and Andrew. And I wanted to get into
welcome to
something
the
that's a little dicey right now. Welcome to it. We jumping right in. So
that's something he can advocate, by the way, in his own state. Each state can determine how they conduct registration.
Right, exactly. So he can advocate for that in the state of Georgia. And I was just going to point that out, Andrew, that it is a state right. Like how elections are run, that is actually a state. For now, that is a state issue. So he should be participating in that. And because he's from Atlanta, I just want to give a shout out to Latasha Brown and Black Voters Matter, because they may be pursuing something like that already. Or just so he doesn't feel like he has to be overwhelmed with that, he can join forces with other organizations who may already be pursuing something like that. And thank you for the question.
Yeah. So speaking of, there's a measure last Congress called the Freedom to Vote Act. And one of the pieces in the bill called for a national automatic voter registration, which 22 states and DC already have, to the point that Tiff and Andrew were just raising about what states do. But there is a piece of the bill that's been getting a lot of attention lately for some challenges, and that's around these independent redistricting commissions. But before we get there, I know Tiff had a story of violence, and perhaps that will keep you watching a little bit longer. So I don't know if we tease the violence now or we get to it later.
Tease the violence.
I've been wanting to tell this story, and I was deciding on if I would tell it or not. And today I just felt compelled to tell it. And I will give a shout out because the state rep.
Well, then Nuck if you buck.
Nuck if you buck. That is the name of the MiniPod, I think. Because
there it is.
I need to wear a t-shirt.
There it is.
Okay, so I, on occasion, do Abby Phillips' show on CNN. And look, we have our opinions about how things progress and transpire on the show. It is supposed to be a show for ideological debate, and it often devolves into mudslinging at times. And, you know, it can be challenging. And so...
Sign of the times.
What'd you say? You said sign of the times?
I said a sign of the times.
Yeah. It's, yes.
One thing Andrew gonna do is Flavor Flav. That's one thing he gonna do.
Yeah.
No, it was conversational. My bad.
Well, it's fine. So I appeared on Abby's show with this woman, Brooke. I forget her last name. I think it's Goldstein. I can't remember. But so we have like very intense discussions, and during the commercial break, when I arrive to the studio, I don't engage. I'm not in the green room with everybody. I can't make small talk with people whose beliefs I find abhorrent. I don't really give a shit where your kids are thinking about going to college. I don't care what you did this weekend. I don't want to hear about your summer plans, summer vacation plans. I walk it like I talk it. I believe that. And I believe that everybody on this podcast is probably the same way. We're very similarly situated that way. And so I don't make small talk during the commercial breaks either. Like, we can keep our conversation to on air. And I try to normalize having a very intelligent response, even in the face of insults, to not get in the mud with people. And I failed. I failed at that. And I'll tell you why. So I was on with this woman, and we were, Abby showed several really disturbing clips of starving children in Gaza. And you saw a child die. It was this 10-year-old girl who was just skin and bones, but it was, she's one of thousands, unfortunately. It was really heartbreaking. And this woman was on the show who she said, why is basically trying to defend, she's like, this is all Hamas's fault. And if, the food workers work with Hamas, and Hamas shows children with genetic diseases who look that way anyway without starvation. And I just lost it. I mean, I just couldn't, let her keep saying that kind of misinformation. Platforming somebody like that, I mean, that is, I'm not in the business to say who comes on what shows anymore. But I just had a real issue with her saying something that's demonstrably false. So I interrupt her and I start talking about actual facts and data coming out of Gaza. And I'm saying, this is horrific. And who could possibly look at this footage and say something about Hamas? Like, the only thing a human being could see is a starving child. So that is where our focus should be. So she said, are you trying to say I don't care about starving children? And I said, well, it certainly doesn't sound like it. So during the commercial break, this is where things went left. And pray for her that I was on the panel that night and not either of my co-hosts, particularly Angela. She turns to me and puts her hands on me, puts her hands on my shoulder, and has her fingers like this close to my face and is like, honey, do not say that I don't care about starving children. So already my blood is boiling, but I'm trying to contain myself because to me, I feel like this is violence. You're touching me without my permission and you have your fingers a little too close to my face for comfort. And so I say, get your hands off me, do not touch me, and move your fingers from my face. So I move her fingers out of my face. And she says, you're saying I don't care about starving children. She's going on. And I was like, you are complicit in what's happening. You are intentionally stating things that are not facts, and shame on you. And she is escalating. And she says, you. Okay. In my best self, I would have flown so above that. I would have just been like, wow, like what a, immature person that you can't contain your emotions that way. Like how immature and silly, and you look stupid and ignorant, and you will not take my dignity. Sadly, that is not what happened. And I lose it. So now I'm saying, you, and we are yelling at each other. And I'm seriously sitting there thinking, I am about to get into a fist fight with this woman. She is unhinged. And so people were getting their makeup. And so at this point, the panel is paying attention to us because now we're yelling. And she keeps talking to me. And I'm like, the child with the bad attitude is still talking. You need to direct your conversation elsewhere. They had to come escort her off the set after the show and all of that. But I just felt so blech. I'm like, I don't need to be. I'm a professional grown ass woman. I don't conduct myself that way. I certainly don't take pride in yelling and cursing at somebody on set. I've always tried to maintain my dignity in the most challenging of moments. And I failed myself at that time. But also because her husband was in the studio for some reason. I'm like, I don't even understand why he in the studio. And then she started complaining, saying, oh my gosh, she's so unprofessional. She's trying to talk to Abby and the producers. She's sitting here yelling at me and cursing. And I thought, oh, this bitch is a liar. Because now you're saying I'm the person who said you. And everybody's like, okay, you guys, calm down. And it just made me so upset. And I know, like, doing this show is challenging at times. There's a reason why I do the show, but doing the show is challenging at times. And I just wanted to tell y'all what happened. I told y'all the quick version of what happened. We were on a call. But now I'm telling the viewers and everybody what happened. I don't know how y'all would handle that situation. I don't like it. I won't ever appear with her again.
She survived that.
Well, because if I strike first, then it is a problem.
I get it.
But I was in that space where it's like, we are not having a debate anymore. Now we're just two women with a problem with each other. And I'm going to proceed accordingly. And you know how it is me and this white woman who's already lied, who's already playing a victim. And anyway, I was just pissed off about the whole thing, Anyway, I just wanted to share the story.
I'm proud of you.
Well, what would you have done, Andrew? It's hard for you because you're a black man, so it's harder to engage that way.
Well, clearly, we wouldn't have been able to escalate that way. But similar to you, I didn't talk to people. We didn't have
I'm not doing that.
In the green rooms about the kind of inhumane shit you thought and said about me when we were in front of the camera. And then after it's just like, and how old are your kids now? I'm like, I'm not talking to you about my children.
Right.
Like, you're
not
not
friends.
entitled to that. We're not friends, and this is not for play, okay? What you just set up there is going to cost somebody something.
Right.
There are people, whole communities of people who are going to be looked at differently, circumspect, because of some shit you just made publicly acceptable. You created a permission structure for a certain set of things to now transpire. Yeah. And that's what this woman did by ignoring her own humanity and basically saying, oh, no, it's those people who are stopping them. Who sees a starving child and doesn't have a heart for that, right? I'm just surprised that she can live to tell about it.
She felt comfortable. That was my problem. You felt comfortable enough putting your fingers in my face and your hands on me. And I don't think it was handled the way that it should have been handled. But I don't know. I think this is something that happened on a TV set, but I'm also thinking about confrontations that happen every day. And as Black people, we got about 0.5 seconds to decide, am I going to rise above it and make you feel this big? Like I'm just ignoring you. I don't even see you. I don't hear you. Or am I going to go spider monkey on your ass so I am not the one? And it's a challenging situation for us to be in, regardless if it's on a TV set or not. It's just if you could be at the airport, at a restaurant, or any point where they feel deputized, that they could 1, touch you, 2, speak to you any kind of way, and 3, insert themselves in something where they really shouldn't even be addressing us. So that's why.
Tiff, you say it's a TV set, but that makes it all the more unusual, right? When the cameras aren't on you. To me, that makes it more unusual. I think you did what you needed to do, which is you use your words. And as you are the first to admit, you have an acid-ass tongue when you want. And the reason why she had to escalate where she went is because she couldn't meet you there, right? She had to go some other place because she couldn't meet you there. So I'll just say, like I tell my kids, use your words. Choose them, but use your words.
Yeah. First, Tiff, I hate that you had that experience because it's all too common. And it's one I think, Andrew, I experience on network. And I think having some distance now from being a commentator for a little bit, it's not an aspect of it that I miss at all. In fact, and we've talked about this a little bit in passing on the show, I'm surprised about how much you've gone on. Because when you were initially, when I was like, oh, they want us on the show, Tiff was like, absolutely not. We're not doing that. You should even go. And now I feel how you feel, definitely not that much. I remember Joy was saying when she was starting her show, she was like, I went on one time. And for me, even last week when they reached out, I said, until the whole podcast is going on, I'm not going. And I maintain that. And the reason for it is, I just think that, especially in this moment in this country, we deserve to have conversations in safe spaces, even if we disagree, right? There are some things that should be off limits. And until the space, it's not just networks, but the spaces that we choose to occupy to be sharing a word, evangelizing, sharing facts. There are certain parameters that should be set to ensure our physical and psychological and even emotional safety. Yeah. And I think sometimes even, on this show, we wrestle with that because there's something going on for one of us that we didn't know about, but we're always going to set that because we love each other. I think the intention has to be to tell the truth in love. That in love piece is a necessary part, even in disagreement. But you don't ever have the right to disrespect our sister. If we see it, we're going to call you on it. It ain't cool. And I would require that of people who ask us to share space with them, especially, with you being so gifted. So
I know you don't want to go on, Angela. I would love to see you go on. And this is my reason why. I'll tell y'all offline why I go on there. But this is my thinking, because Angela is, like y'all have seen, we talked about Angela refusing these networks. Like, she down like 4 flat tires every single time for her friends, her crew, colleagues, all of that. But my thought on having all 3 of us on there, so then you have one night with all NLP and then you're done. Versus if I'm on Monday night, you have a promo for NLP. If Angela's on Wednesday, you have a promo for NLP. If Andrew's on Friday, you have a promo for NLP. I know. I'm just saying if, and so if Angela, if your only reason is no, because they won't have all of us, Andrew's not going to go either way. I'm always happy to go.
Yeah, no, Andrew, you said you would go if we all went on together.
No. I mean, I will do stuff that is of a level, but I'm not generally going to sit down and be on the opposite side of somebody.
No. If the 3 of us were going on and an asshole just so happened to be on that day, you said before you would go on if it was the collective.
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't put the 3 of us on with the asshole.
That's not what I was told. And that's the only reason why I went on initially, and the only reason why I asked Tiff to go on initially. Right? Like, I agree with Tiff though. I think it is important for your voices to be in the mix there, because the absence of it, they can find another one.
I mean, I feel you.
I'm just not going to do that until there are safety parameters. And again, from a network that once paid me for my commentary, pay me what you owe me.
Yeah,
right. I'm definitely not going on frequently.
I'm
not going on frequently. I'm not doing that. Like, I know what I'm worth, and I'm not going to add to your ratings. And you're not reciprocating that, especially not to put me in harm's way, literally.
And you
I just think for the 2 of you that you introduce perspectives that
I know
might otherwise not be there, and that's why you get paid to introduce those perspectives.
But again, and so for me, the only added benefit of going on a network right now, from my perspective, I'm very interested in the social experiment we're engaging in and how we bring eyeballs to our show. Mm-hmm. And if it's not going to be a mutually beneficial exchange, I'm not here for it. It just, my psychological well-being and safety matter too much to me in this season of my life.
I get that.
Especially, I mean, literally we're watching kids fight for their lives in D.C.
Yeah.
So
and they don't pay me a dime.
But the main thing is,
just to be clear, I know y'all know that, but I want the viewers to know, they do not pay me for my appearance or my time at all. I go up there for free, and that is the point Angela's making. Like, if she's gonna fly across the country and go on this network and have to be confronted by and confront people who spit racist ideology, disinformation, people who violate her personal space, all of those things, her perspective is I need to benefit from it. Either A, I am a formal contributor where I'm collecting a check, so this is a part of my job, or B, you're going to have my co-host on and all of us are going to get a benefit out of being on there, which I completely get that perspective. I may be back on this week or next week, or maybe once they hear this podcast.
Good.
Never
Get
again. Who knows? But I will share more with you guys on why I go on the show offline. And it's not because I'm trying to keep something away from the viewers, but I just I think it's relevant to the co-host.
No, I think I'd say double down, do it. But I know how much they pay.
Well, I know and I just wanted.
Yeah, yes. I mean,
go ahead.
Exactly that. And that's the point. Like, pay Tiff what you owe her too. Cause you been going on every week, Tiff?
No. I mean, I would, but I don't have the time commitment to do it. So maybe once or twice a month.
Okay.
That's all right.
Well, either way, pay her what you owe her. She's added to the ratings. Abby, we love you, sis.
And I do want Abby, we need Black women on there. And I do want her to be successful.
What are we false advertising?
We talked about redistricting and...
Oh, no, let's get to redistricting. Let's move on. We got time.
We got it.
I don't want to change it.
Done. I just want you guys to weigh in on the commissions, because Andrew said that he thinks...
I just think we can have that fight. I don't think it's the fight to be had right now.
Well, we'll talk about what the fight is, brother.
I think the fight right now is they're trying to cheat and throw us out of the game completely. And we cannot go quietly into that good night, right? So I don't want to debate whether or not you believe ideally in commissions and whether you think they can work or not work. I'm not actually that interested in anybody's thoughts on it. I'm right now interested And with the power that you do have right now in this moment, what are you going to do to make sure we can live to fight another day? Because your theoretical and your what good government looks like and all that kind of stuff is all good when we're talking about normal times and we're talking about we're talking about a game where everybody respects the rules and abides by them. That's not where we are right now. Right now, we have cheaters on the other side. And so we're not trying to cheat with them. We're just trying to level the damn field. We just want to level it. So whatever we have to, if you can be for commissions, you can be a spokesperson for them. I, however, am not interested in it right now. I'm not interested in your opinion on it, your advocacy, your good government's opinion. I'm interested in knowing right now in your position with the power that you right now have, what are you going to do to ensure that we can live to fight another day?
This is the thing. I think that we, okay, just take a step back with me for a second. As soon as Gavin Newsom talked about responding in this way, there was almost an immediate release of all these other states where these Republicans were going to go after other Black people who happen to be Democrats. And so what that tells me is that this is something that has long been planned. And to the point that Tiff said in the main episode around DC is that this is also a litmus test. The first litmus test wasn't right now. It was in North Carolina, as we talked about. I think that what we have to be... That. Say it again?
It's not important to do now, but I debate the beginning of this.
Okay, well, I'm saying the first time they tried it in like the middle of a...
Right.
You're saying that that's also different. You take issue with that?
No. I mean, in this current orientation, I could concede that North Carolina may have been the shot over the bow. However, redistricting, period, and the way in which the ruling majority, be they Democrat or Republican, have approached them has always been at the sacrifice of Black voters and Black representation.
Okay, I agree with that. I'm talking specifically about here is the census. Here is the point in which you're supposed to redistrict. We're no longer following those rules. We're just going to do this in the middle of the thing or 3 years into the thing. North Carolina, I believe, was the first state. Is there something as another state that you know of?
No, there have been other states prior to North Carolina who have updated their numbers or gone without updating numbers and drawn seats from the state level, from the local state to the federal level. There have also been, of course, as you know, court cases which have lingered on into the mid-decennial. I
think that's different.
I get it. Okay. But both have existed. We have seen efforts where, and we, again, I think it's a lesser point than the point you want to make. So I don't even want to.
Well, I think it's important if my information is wrong, I definitely want to know. But my understanding is North Carolina is the first state to kind of just say in 23, we actually are just going to change this and do it in a way that hurts Black people. So if that's wrong, I want to fix it. I'm not saying historically it's never happened, but, leading up to VRA, before we had Section 5, that, with the formula in Section 4 of VRA, of the Voting Rights Act, we don't have that anymore. So they were stress tested. My understanding is they were stress testing what they could get away with since the elimination or the obliteration of Section 5 via the gutting of Section 4. Mm-hmm. If that's not true, I will concede the point. I just want to know what the facts are. Now,
no. We will, for the sake of this conversation and moving forward, I concede the point.
Okay. But on this particular issue, we have been blindsided essentially because North Carolina was a trial, and then they went after all of these other seats, and they're saying they're going to do that. So the moment there's an equal reaction, there is a response from them that they clearly have been planning for some time. There is no plan on our side. So what the plan was on our side is like, okay, everybody, 2 years ago, let's just do this fair. Let's make sure that we have these commissions. To Congressman Thompson's point from Tunica this weekend, there's no such thing as a bipartisan or nonpartisan commission. Everybody has a leaning, even courts. where they're
Of
supposed to not
course.
be partisan at all, have a leaning, a political ideological leaning. And so it is a farce. So the idea that we will be fair with these independent commissions, it is not true. There's always a bias. We saw that. We've seen it even in California. There is a bias.
There is a bias. It is
so,
less than the one that we currently get under its current structure, but it's the bias that we tolerate. So we're basically saying, okay, if the governor is a Democrat and the governor gets the 15th appointment as the tiebreaker, we know that if it comes down to the 15th appointee, that it's likely going to go the way of the governor that appointed. Would be the general thinking.
I guess what I'm saying is I don't understand how we could even possibly be having this conversation when Shelby versus Holder was a case that went to the Supreme Court in 2013. I don't understand how we could possibly be having this conversation when this country just got its first Black president in 2008. I don't understand how we could be having this conversation when the country just had its first Black woman nominee last year. Like, how are we having
But none of that changed the underlying motivations for what happens in this process. It existed before Obama and it has existed after.
No.
It existed before.
No. I'm talking about the Freedom to Vote Act, pushing it to be a nationwide thing that we would cleave to, that we would gather around, that we support and I didn't even get to this part yet. When, after President Obama was elected, now voter ID needs to become a thing. Now early voting days need to be cut. Now absentee voting needs to be relitigated and reviewed. How can we possibly be talking about independent commissions when we're watching states introduce bills like these? That's ridiculous. Yeah. It's ridiculous. I just think that we often let our wishful thinking get in the way of our reality. And when we do that, it puts our people in harm's way vis-a-vis suppressive efforts at the voting booths, vis-a-vis having to prove your citizenship, and whether or not you live in the neighborhood you live. Now folks are having to count provisional ballots that may not be counted if they don't get to that part.
The we you're talking about is invisible. I don't think that the collective, the we that we're thinking of, I think the conversation we're having is how we would be how Democrats could, how fair-minded and thinking electeds might, and in this case, it would be how Democrats could even consider post-Shelby any of this.
I am not actually talking about Democrats because I know
who would have shared.
I am when I say we, I'm always talking Black. So let me just make sure I'm very clear. I do not believe that people who have constantly and continuously betrayed us will do the right thing, except for being pushed to do the right thing.
And every example I've seen, mostly Black legislators at the legislative level have largely stood against these sort of utopic good government redistricting commissions. There are some you can point out.
That's
but generally
I literally keep referencing.
But the point that I'm making is that in spite of that, the rules, the sacrifices that the political parties have been able to make and what loss they're willing to endure has always been our loss. Like their tolerance, their pain threshold, always it's baked into the pie that we're going to lose Black representation, that there's a likelihood that we will reduce Black seats. We may even obliterate them. But if we get a progressive, then all is fair.
I'm not okay with that compromise.
I'm not okay with it either. Okay. I'm simply saying that's always, it's baked into the pie that there is no party love when it comes to that. And I think it takes Black people being the conscience and basically saying, now you realize that if such and such had this seat over me, that we would be negotiating against ourselves on the most basic fundamental shit that should be automatic for the people with whom I am representing and voicing for right now, right? That we know that. I know that there are people who could not switch places with me as the mayor, and my community could expect that they were going to ride as hard on this, that, and the third as I would. I wouldn't risk it. All I'm saying is that largely white liberals have tolerated the loss of what we all know is going to be lost, which is representation and community reflected representation, right? They don't really care about that.
I don't think we disagree. We don't disagree on that.
I agree. I think we do agree. I'm just saying there's no revelation. Shelby wasn't the revelation for us to know that. I'm saying we should have always known we're the sacrificial.
No, Shelby wasn't the revelation. Shelby was the undoing, the gutting, and then the unraveling of the Voting Rights Act, the very one that we just celebrated the 60th anniversary for last week. I'm saying that they codified what we always feared. That case shouldn't have even gone to the Supreme Court, right? If we could have prevented it. The idea that we don't need voting rights, pre-clearance protection, just because we have a Black president, was the beginning of a demise for us that I think we are hardly ready to fight.
The Trojan horse.
Okay.
And Obama didn't mean to be the Trojan horse, by the way. He was not voluntarily the Trojan horse. But basically, white people said, if we can elect a Black president, we don't need pre-clearance. Mm-hmm. We don't need Alabama, Florida, Georgia to have their stuff approved by some judge.
Missouri, 5th District.
Right? All over.
It's a huge problem.
Angela, I think we agree here. I don't think there is real...
I agree now. But at first when you were saying we still need these commissions, I'm like, how, Sway?
No, all I'm saying is I don't think right now in this war, there is the time to debate it.
Yeah, I guess maybe so. But here's what I do know. So Tiff don't swing on nobody else. We got to be out. So let's go ahead and pause this till next time. Welcome home, y'all. This is, I don't know how many parts of this we're going to do. We are at war. We are very clear about the assignment. We understand it. Make sure you tune in to Native Land Pod every week to get your marching orders.
Stay ready. You don't got to get ready.
Native Land Pod is a production of iHeartRadio in partnership with Reason Choice Media. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.